Great day. There's going to be a great day, and this is the occasion of its apex. We are here at Jazz Vespers at the First Reformed Church, and with us today is Rees Shaed and his trio, The Conversations, to share with you joy from over the border in Great Barrington, Massachusetts. But even more important, Rees is the grandson of Clark Poling, our minister during World War II, who was one of the 4 chaplains who gave up his life when the USS Dorchester went down. And to my knowledge, this is the first time Rees has been here, and maybe the first time in a long time anybody from the Poling family has been here. Rees is a composer and a musician, and he's gonna wow you with his buddies here, and we're gonna come back. But Rees, guys, we're so glad you're here. Take it away.
So glad to be here, sir. Who knows what song was playing when Mom and Pop first met? Did they dance to Benny Goodman and his band? I bet they had a favorite singer and a very special song that floated through the moonlight on the night he asked her for her hand. And don't knock the music you were made to. Don't cringe at a maudlin melody. Don't knock the music you made to. Without it there might not be no you or me. I'll go get the bottle of that fine old dusty wine. We'll get tipsy instead of getting stoned. Dancing with Sinatra, with your cheek pressed close to mine. We'll remember those magic moonlight July days with never known land. Don't knock the music you were made to. Don't think it's just a modern melody. Don't knock the music that you were made to. 'Cause without it there might not be no you or me.
Wow. Now, in the opening set, lines about proposing, how mom and dad might have worked that out. Didn't you begin to think a little bit about what was going on way back when? Did you? All right.
Oh, Joe, there's so many stories we could share right
there
now.
is. You don't know how many stories I have. That's okay. But Rees, just introduce the band, because you guys have come over the border, and we're glad you're here, and we all want to know who.
Yeah.
We're legal.
Not all of were imported. This is a young man from Del Mar, Rob Kovacs on drums, who I lovingly refer to as Bobby K. And but yes, we do have a couple of Massachusetts boys here. Mr. Jeff Link, originally from Florida, on the bass.
On the bass.
Lives in Pittsfield now. And then there's me.
And you're in Great Barrington.
Yeah, I live in Great Barrington now. Yeah.
Oh, that's
Used to live in Greenwich, New York. Was in Washington County for 18 years. Loved it there, and did a lot of music with Bobby and a bunch of other folks over the years. I used to run a recording studio up there.
Well, we're gonna do a little reprise with Rees a little bit later about how some of his music has found him. Because as a composer, you know, you try hard some days, and then sometimes on the way to the post office, you know, there you go. So,
Yeah.
So that's what. And now we'd love to hear one more before I'm going to sit down and think about what I'm going to say next, and you guys are on.
Okay. All right. And I actually should have mentioned that last song was the only song we'll be playing tonight that is not originally. Well, actually, no, that's not true. Okay, but that I did not write that song. That's a friend of mine down in Nashville, Fred Kohler, and you might know his co-writer on that one, Shel Silverstein, who wrote The Giving Tree, which is, I think, a very problematic book, and but a bunch of other really wonderful children's books that didn't traumatize me nearly as much. But we'd like to play a song for you now that it's called Ghosted. I was riding, I used to teach at CUNY in New York City, and I was riding on the subway one day, and one guy was talking to another right in front of me, like, and you know, you can't help but hear a conversation that's going on. He's like, I don't know, I can't get through to her. He's like, what's wrong, man? Can't you conversate her? I'm an English major, conversate. I need not only to figure out what that word means, but also use it in a song. And I did. This is a song called Ghosted. There was a time that gal would care to listen to whatever I might say. But here and now, her sources have been whispering, maybe I led her astray. I'm all hung up, I'd never go against her. Once true, but now just blue. Because the one girl that I can rely on is telling me that we are through. Oh, I gotta wonder what it was that I said. I spin the dial, but her line's always dead. I keep reflecting back on every date. She's turned into a ghost that just won't conversate. Ain't nobody heard a thing. Oh, ain't no matter what, and there's nothing to it. Still her heart can sing. We make time all the time, it's a fact. But now she's knocking me this statuette. Lord, it's a brush off and that girl won't share all the action going on beneath her hair. Out on a dance floor, we get lonely last. Out among the hoity-toity, let them all observe us as the band can serve us. Pantomime of swing and joy. I spin the dial, but the line's always dead. I keep reflecting back on every date. She's just turned into a ghost, she won't conversate. I'm all hung up, I'd never go against her. Once true, but now just blue. Because the one gal that I can rely on is telling me that we are through.
Wondering about all the action going underneath her hair.
You like that one?
I like that line.
you very much.
It makes you pause and think about a whole bunch of stuff. Yeah.
Suddenly something's going on beneath the hair. But,
Boy, I haven't thought this way in 20 years. One of the traditions of our congregation is that the first weekend in February, we celebrate Rededication Sunday. A lot of terrible things have happened to this church in early February. There was the massacre. The Dorchester went down on the 8th. Fire that took this church out in 1947. Okay. A lot of bad things happened in February. The fire in 47. The Dorchester went down in 43 in February. And the massacre occurred on February 5th, I think, or 6th, 8th. All right. So we get psyched about coming back in February. And we celebrate a lot about Clark Poling and those other people that had that happen. And one of the wonderful things about being on and coming back is you attract friends. And one of our friends is the Jewish War veterans, interestingly enough, because they celebrate the 4 chaplains and they honor Rabbi Goody. And they use the celebration to honor a community leader, not necessarily Jewish. And they have come to do their ceremony in this church. We call them friends and brothers. And I want to just introduce Fred Altman, who's the president of the Jewish American War Veterans, who's here tonight. He traveled with us when we went down to Philadelphia to celebrate the 4 chaplains. Fred, come on up and bring a greeting.
Thank you, Joe. I'm a little bit, it's sad to hear how many bad things have happened in February, but I can tell you that for the past quite a few years now, we at the Jewish War Veterans, when we honor the memory of the 4 chaplains, we have been privileged to do so here in the First Reformed Church. We used to do it at the VA hospital in Albany. But I can tell you personally that when we do this, and we've been doing it for 58 years, not me, but our post, that the first time and each succeeding time that we came here to do that annual ceremony and service, it really has had a special meaning to us and to me to know that as we honor the 4 chaplains for their heroism, that we're doing so from the very pulpit of one of the 4 that we honor. This is a very special thing to us, and we are very grateful to you for inviting us to do this each year. And now, as Joe mentioned, in February of this year was the 80th anniversary of the sinking of the Dorchester, and there was a big reception at the National Chapel of the 4 Chaplains, which is located in Philadelphia. And I was privileged to accompany the delegation from First Reformed Church, and we had a wonderful time. And in fact, a great opportunity to expand our friendships and our relationship. And we discussed many things. And one of the things, Rees, we had the distinct privilege to meet a most lovely lady, Susan Poling Smith, was a special guest at the banquet in February in Philadelphia. And one of the things that we had discussed and being worked on is we're going to mutually dedicate a special plaque in the beautiful chapel of the 4 Chaplains in Philadelphia in honor of Reverend Poling. So I just want to tell you, and I extend also on behalf of my colleague, Colonel Rich Goldenberg, who many of you might know, he's here every year with us, how grateful we are to be able to perform this service with you and with your friendship here at this church. And Rees, I'm enjoying your performance. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Joe?
Thank you. Thank you, Fred. One little pause. At this banquet, when Susan, Reese's mom, read part of Clark's words, she went by the table where we were sitting, and we followed her. And when we followed her, she turned around and she says, "Who are you?" And we said, "We're from the First Reformed Church." And she jumped up and down. It was just wonderful.
She was very excited to meet you. So I grew up, I'm adopted, which is why my last name is Shaed and not Poling or Smith or Dunsmore, for that matter. I grew up in New York City, and there was the Argosy Bookshop. I don't know if you all know that place on the Upper East Side. It's amazing. And the proprietor became a friend to me when I was like a 9 or 10-year-old kid walking my dog. And he loved my dog, and he kind of was a little concerned that a 9-year-old was walking alone, in the evenings. And so he would check in on me, and he got to know my mom and my dad, my adopted folks. And anyway, he had a first edition, a commemorative envelope with the 4 Chaplains stamp on it. And it was framed, and it was on his wall. And he told me the story of the 4 Chaplains. And when I met my mother, Susan, when I was 30 years old, she said, "Well, part of the reason that I gave you up was I didn't want you to grow up without a father the way I did." So, and then she told me about the 4 Chaplains, and I'm like, I know this story. I've been looking at that stamp since I was 10 years old, because I have a whole sheet of them. I've been looking into my grandfather's face since I was 10. But I only got to know who he was when I was 30. So it's a real honor to be here. So on that note, let me sing you a song that will probably get me sued. Okay, are you ready to go up against Disney? This is called Mickey Mouse Romeo. Walt could have created that guy you're fixated upon. As of late, my old friend, to the moon that buffoon your heart sends. Where's it end? Where's it end? Where's it end? There's a chorus of voices alarmed by your choices. Too distracted, you hear not a word. Yet we all see that match is absurd. Oh, fly away, little bird. He's just a puffed up pretender, no heart, just bravado and show. You never remember the tales that the dandies all tell, but we know he's just a Mickey Mouse Romeo. His lines are impressive and sometimes expressive of wit, but the jokes never hit. And I wonder what you see in it. I myself am a much better fit. I ain't a puffed up pretender. I'm heart and not bravado and show. I never remember the tales that the dandies all tell, but you'll know I ain't a Mickey Mouse Romeo. Oh, I'd give all my eye teeth for the style that is that dandy. If I could get you to glance over at this heart of me, with them eyes that you invest in that foppish, handsome mess, I must confess my jealousy.
Jeff Link on the bass. Bobby Kay on the drums.
I think Disney would be proud of that, Rees. I really do. I do. I have no idea. I can't bring it out of my memory who's playing next week at Jazz Vespers, but we have a next week at Jazz Vespers. Peg Delaney. Oh, high energy, bingo, right there. You don't want to miss her. And we do support Jazz Vespers by our gifts and tithes and offerings. And if you want to do that, you can just simply send a check to the First Reformed Church noted with Jazz Vespers, or there's a little slot in a box out in the hall that'll do it, and that'll be helpful. The lectionary for today was from John, and in it, Jesus talks about it being one of the last times he's going to be with the disciples. But not to worry. I'm leaving you with something almost as big as me. I'm leaving you with the Spirit of truth that will come to you and hold you and comfort you and guide you just like I would. It is as much a part of me as it will be a part of you. Now, often we get a little flummoxed with this in terms of the Spirit. But the Spirit, in that statement, John is kind of breaking tradition on most religions up until that time. Because what he says is, You don't have to go to the temple to worship. You don't have to go to the top of the mountain. You don't have to go to a special place. Because my Spirit is always with you, comforting you, consoling you, guiding you. It's actually a statement of revolution. It's a statement of presence. If you read some of the anecdotes about survivors of the Dorchester, they'll describe the calm, loving action of the four chaplains, giving out life jackets. When the life jackets were gone, they gave away their own life jacket. And in the water, in the frigid water, they could hear the chaplains praying, sharing the Spirit's presence as they lay in the water freezing. And for some, a Coast Guardman or a sailor dove in and dragged them out of the water. 272 and 900 men. And they remembered the Spirit, just the way Rees remembered the Spirit looking at a postage stamp. There's a lot of, in the writings back and forth between Clark Bowling and his dad, who was also a minister. And I won't go into all of it, but I'll leave you with a line. They were talking about prayer, and they were talking about going to war, and they were talking about maybe not coming home. And in it, Clark says to his dad, he says, "Don't pray for my safe return. It wouldn't be fair. Simply pray that I be worthy to the task." Worthy to the task. Spirit of truth.
Let me continue by performing yet another inappropriate song after that.
I came over 'cause I thought you looked lonely. I tried for compassion these days. I lean in when I notice that she's talking. I try to hold on to her gaze. I've been told I'm a difficult subject, though they say I ain't no stranger to it. There's an edge to this laughter, not quite what I'm after. I struggle to make the parts fit. Oh, the people kiss sideways. Esme's noticed the ruse in the love and the squalor she questioned. Every raindrop in the evening's deluge, Mr. Link. Pour water. I switch horses when the river runs dry. I've heard one wall talking to the other, and here in this corner I hide. All the people kissing sideways. Esme, she's noticed the ruse in the love and the squalor she questioned. Every raindrop in the evening's deluge. Is a nervous hand, you know I see it in each note she writes. Well, we act as if we're age-old friends, but every joke has got a different bite. Well, I laugh, But it's a forced response, and lately that's all I can muster. Her eyes say something different inside. They ask me if I think I can trust her. All the people kissing sideways. Yes, me, she's noticed the ruse. In the love and the squalor she questions. Every raindrop in the evening's deluge. In the love and the squalor she questions. Every raindrop in the evening's deluge. Thank you very much.
Every raindrop in the evening. Yeah.
In the evening's deluge, yes.
It's a deluge. Well, we could use a little deluge of rain right now, so you might have to sing that one again.
Okay.
Rees, we talked about maybe having you just share a little bit about where where the notes come from, where the inspiration comes from, and you've been doing this a while, so keeping everything fresh. How does that work as a composer?
I think for me, it's kind of like Sudoku.
It's like Sudoku.
You're making all these different pieces fit and make sense together in different directions. So not only musically, but lyrically, and I try, a lot of my records over the years have been larger narratives. So, what might be considered, I don't know, modern Americana opera. I tell stories about, ghost stories on a back road, or one of my albums is about a serial killer on the Underground Railroad.
Whoa.
Yeah, very dark and weird. But, that, and in that case, it was just putting a challenge in front of myself. If I got the story I want to tell, but I'm not going to play guitar on this album. I'm going to compose for a string quartet, which I'd never done before. And so, there were some good moments and some not so good moments on that album, I'm sure. But so things like that, I think is really important to keep it fresh, to keep on challenging myself. But then the other thing that's really interesting is that the three of us, and when we have our comrade Carlos with us, four of us sometimes, quartet, I always, and Bob will tell you, Robert will tell you any day of the week, Rees will start a song and I don't know what the tempo is or the feel is until he starts. So we keep it very, very fresh. It's not really, every time we play, and I think that inspires me to go back. We were in the recording studio last week and I sat down at the piano and Rob came over and grabbed my shoulder and said, "No more songs today. No, we have enough."
No more songs today. Well, okay, why don't you get challenged again and do another one for us?
All right, let's do the Vig, okay? So this is a song from, sorry, let me get there. Is this right? Yes. This is a song from an album called Songs for Isaac that I did back in 2016. And I was trying to write songs that I thought my late brother would appreciate. And he was a swing dancer, and that was kind of the beginning of me playing this kind of jazzy stuff. I used to just play with a guitar, pick and just slam away and do country-like songs. And somehow my younger brother taught me to appreciate a whole nother style of music. And so I was trying to do stuff that would be kind of cool for him to dance to if he were still with us, which he isn't. And this is a song that is, it involves a character going to get a loan. And as any writer will tell you, the people you meet when you read a book or you hear a song, the writer has their whole backstory. So this guy has actually been in like 7 or 8 of my songs over the years. I call him the schmuck because he always gets in trouble. He always gets in, he paints himself into a corner in a weird way. And so in this case, going to get a loan from the wrong guy. This is called the Vig. And it is in B flat, yes? B flat, yes.
When you meet the man in the cafe lair, ascot holding up his chin. He's wearing someone else's hair. He's got a way with words you can't quite understand. Oh, grapple of a grip for a handshake. He insists on calling you friend. It's how it starts, how it slips away. Worry about the Vic on another day. Life is a crap game. Oh, go ahead, roll. Trade every little thing you got left for a little less of your soul. Jimmy Chandler's gun sits on a barroom stool with a highball glass drained to a lone ice cube. Oh, picks a scab on a knuckle as he watches you. Man with the toupee smiles and tastes green for your IOU. It's how it starts, how it slips away. Worry about the Vic on another day. Life is a crap game. Oh, go ahead, roll. Trade every little thing you got left for a little less of your soul. You're such a sap. You ought to be a tree. But for trusting one old friend, now you're living up at county for free. But word gets out, perhaps it was your intention. Oh, friends in low places, Johnny Law wants you give each dot its connection. It's how it starts, how it slips away. Worry about the Vic on another day. Life is a crap game. Oh, go ahead and roll. Trade every little thing you got left for a little less of your soul. A silent side street, danger the night announces. Oh, you turn too late as highball man suddenly pounces. You find that debt, it's paid in aces. Comic graces, turn the pages. You need a loan, Joe?
Pardon?
Do you need a loan?
I don't need a loan, actually, but I was thinking about dinner, actually. And we have a little lasagna spread here, and I asked for reservations, so I kind of know how to handle But if you want to stay and haven't made a reservation, we will make do. I have a little kid from the Stockade Association outside. He's got a plate of lasagna and some bread, and he says he can take care of everything by just praying. So we're good to go. I learned about Clark Poling from the same stamp that hung in the bookstore. In 5th grade, we collected stamps. So I knew the story. I didn't know the story was here at First Reformed when I joined. It wasn't until I saw Clark Poling's picture in the hall that I realized something was up. Now, as many of you know, my older kid, our older kid, is a minister and a physician and a graduate of the Yale Divinity School. And he had a good buddy growing up who was 83, Arch Wemple, who had played tennis with Clark Poling and told all these stories about Clark Poling, about staying out late and coming into the boarding house over the fire escape and stuff like that. La 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 la. He never got the loan, though, I just got to tell you. So Ben went to Yale, and in his first day at Yale, he went to Hebrew class, and as he's coming down the corridor, he sees a picture of all the graduates of the year 1936. And it's firm, sober, stern New England granite faces, except for one guy in the bottom right of the pictures. And Clark Poling was there with a wonderful smile on his face. And when Ben came home for Christmas, he got invited to preach. And the title of his sermon was Mysterious Smile. So I asked him, I said, so what's it about? He says, you'll find out. And he told that story about he and Herb Wemple and going to Hebrew class, and how the guy with the smile on the face was the same man who came to Schenectady and helped turn it around after the Depression and brought new life back to the streets of a decaying city. So I share with you a story of Clark Poling and his mysterious smile. And may that presence hold and keep us.
This is a song that I wrote for my compadre over here on the drums. This is called Bobby's Bounce. Bobby Kay on the drums, Jeff Link on the bass. Wonderful guys.
Now, Bobby, if you'd held him back, you wouldn't have had the song. You know what I'm saying? You got to do that. Yeah, yeah. I mean, sometimes you just got to take the hand off the shoulder. You know, let him go. One of the interesting things about Clark Polling's father is that I think, like I would be if I lost either of my two sons, he was heartsick, and he had to do something. And what he had to do was reflect on peace rather than war. And he was based in Philadelphia. He was teaching at Temple and running their cathedral. And he organized a not-for-profit that became the Four Chaplains Memorial Foundation. He talked the Navy out of a piece of property and built a chapel in the Philadelphia Naval Yard. And in organizing the structure, he set up a board that had each of the 5 services there and representatives of the Senate and the House and those kinds of things, and a representative from the German government, and a member of the family of U-233, because the captain of that boat had not survived the war. The boat hadn't survived the war. And so around that board table, there were these 2 Germans, one from the new government that was just being constituted, and one a heartsick father like Daniel Pullman, dealing with his grief over a loss during a war. And I share that story with you because there is no better testament to trying to avoid conflict than putting grieving fathers or mothers on that kind of board.
This is a tune by Ornette Coleman.
Beautiful, beautiful. It is Mother's Day, and I just want to share with you a poem that I found that I think you'll like. It's by Elizabeth Akers Allen, who wrote in the 1800s. Backward, turn backward, O time in your flight. Make me a child again just for tonight. Mother, come back from the echoless shore. Take me again to your heart as of yore. Kiss my forehead the furrows of care. Smooth the few silver threads out of my hair. Over my slumbers your loving watch keep. Rock me to sleep, mother, rock me to sleep. Mother, dear mother, the years have been long since I last listened to your lullaby song. Sing then, and unto my soul it shall seem womanhood's years have been only a dream. Clasped to your heart in a loving embrace, with your light lashes just sweeping my face, never hereafter to wake or to weep. Rock me to sleep, mother, rock me to sleep. Rock me to sleep.
So I think this is our last song, correct? How are we doing for time?
Well, we're about there. We're a little early, so
All right, okay. Well, this is...
I won't put my hand on your shoulder.
All right, thank you, sir. But put your hand on my shoulder. This is a new song that we just recorded a couple of weeks back. So you're going to need to help us out a little bit if you're up to it. I'm not a Pete Seeger type. I don't normally do sing-alongs, but if you feel climb on in, okay? Because we can use all the help we can get. So this is a song for a musical that I've been writing. It's a noir take on the story of Sir Galahad. And King Arthur is not a good guy. He's a mob boss. And Galahad comes along, and if you know the real story, he loses the sword. Actually, he loses the scabbard. Interestingly enough, in Mallory, the power of Excalibur is the scabbard. But anyway, all that to say, instead of a sword, Excalibur is the mob boss's daughter. And anyway, so all the stories that you know from Camelot except twisted. And this is a song called Rattlin' on the Tattlin' Line, which is sung by Artie, the big man, as he's very, very concerned that Guinevere, is cheating on him. He's not sure yet. I hear the rattling all the time. I come to understand, to pay it no mind. It's only innuendo served upon a platter, appealing even though it should not matter. But there's only so much that a man can take before the volume gets his heart away. All the few paper tubs and a ball of twine, all you need to stop that rattling on the tattling line. I heard a rattling, rats a rattling. I heard the rattling on the tattling line. Oh, news hot off the wire has lit suspicions fire, ramifications dire. What am I to do? Drank a cup of hearsay served up from Sister Faye. Now I'm second guessing everything, and every day is the lady going out for tea or stepping out with someone who ain't me? That old Green Rider's on my back this time, whipping up the rattling on the tattling line. I heard rattling, lots of rattling. I heard the rattling on the tattling line. Quick, go and get more bourbon. I gotta process what I'm learning. This strange rattling got me off my game.
strange suggestion about my gal. Didn't used to question, but look at me now. It ain't a rumor if the tale is true. The trust of a fool is still the trust of a fool. There's been rattling, rat-tat-tat-tattling. There's been rattling on the tattling line. Oh, I heard rattling, rat-tat-tat-tattling. I heard a rattling on the tattling line. Hi, 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 hi. Low, 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 low. Oh, I heard the rattling on the tattling line. Thank you, Cab Calloway.
Thank you, Conversations, and thank you, Rees, and thank you all for being here.
Thank you for having us.
We're going to be setting up for lasagna, Pareco's lasagna. I was going to have ziti, but I figured we ought to show a little bit better than our usual Schenectady with Rees here. So and I'd like to share something from those stern men in the picture at the Yale Divinity School. In 1945, they and the Poling family established a scholarship in Clark's name. And this is what those stern guys said about Clark Poling. Clark had more life than any other member of the class. It is perhaps fitting that he should be the first to move ahead into the adventure of the life beyond. Yet his going is the keenest personal loss to all who knew him and loved him. His place can never be filled by anyone. His sacrifice makes vivid the tragedy of war, that the price war extracts is the best of human life. Rock me to sleep, Mother. Rock me to sleep. Thanks for coming. And Nathan Shied is here, and he's been the miracle worker for this whole production.
He's been wonderful.
And he is really super, and he's not staying for dinner because he promised his mother he was going to take her out.